Hi, I'm Pappy Frank. Welcome to Great Grandpa's Toolbox. I have an apology to make. First of all, I was having trouble with my camera. It's been several days since I put a video on. I've had trouble with my camera. I thought it was a camera. I believe I've narrowed it down though to where it was the card that goes in it. And so we're going to try again. Second piece of business to take care of before we get into making some tools is I entered my mallet and the fixed marking gauge in the tool build-off on Wood by Wright, James Wright's channel. It's worth looking at if you haven't seen it. And I actually won something. I won a card scraper. James sells these on his website, but he gave this one away for me. And I'll tell you what, he had a lot of some nice and some expensive things that he gave away. And as I looked through the list of things there, I actually narrowed it down to where there was only two things I really felt like I could use. It would have been nice to have some of the other stuff, but didn't have any need for it. This was one of them, so I'm really glad I won it. I could have won something more expensive, but it wouldn't have been worth anything to me because I couldn't use it. So anyway, I won this. James, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Now, today we're going to make three tools. Actually, I'm only going to make two, but I'm going to show you how I made a third one. Clamps. You never have enough clamps. And I went down to the Getting Place and I got a 10-foot piece of 3-inch PVC, and I did this. I cut them off. That one's about it's about 5/8 of an inch wide. I also cut these. These are a little over an inch, and I cut some wider ones. I cut some 1.5 and 2 inch. After I cut them all, and I cut a lot more of the small ones. As I got bigger, I cut fewer. After I cut them all, set them in a vise, and I cut them with hacksaw. Now they come apart. I had one other problem. Throw them down, and I'd look at them and say, where in the world is that cut? So I come back and I marked where that cut was at with a felt tip marker. And now, laying down there, I can see it. However it's laying, I can see that black mark. I've got it on the sides and on the top here. I can see that black mark and know immediately where it's at. You can generally work it with one hand. I've seen people make these, and they drill a hole in here, two of them, and they'd stick a dowel in there and use them where they could squeeze them. I haven't done that yet. Anyway, so that's one tool, and we're going to use that tool now. I'm going to make a bench hook. Now, what is a bench hook, you might ask? Well, I'm going to show you. You need 3 pieces of wood. Now I'm making a narrow one because I have need for a narrow one. I have several on my bench already. Some of them are fairly wide, but I need a narrow one. I don't need one that wide to work that wide. I have some pieces of wood that are rather thin that I want to plane. And so what you do is you take a block of wood, glue to the bottom, take a block of wood and glue to the top. And when you get that done, you can set this on your bench, and that bottom piece of wood catches the bench. And then when you have a piece of wood you want to put on top, this would be too long for this probably, but you put a piece on top and that catches it. And you can plane it, you can saw it, sand it, you can do a lot of things with it because it's going to sit on your bench and not move. Really easy. Where'd my glue go? Here we go. And if I'd wipe that off, I wouldn't have to pick the glue off of it. Okay, we're going to put a little glue on here and smear it around a little bit. Lay it there. Use a paper towel here. I'll wipe my finger off. Now one of these clamps. Got my glue right in the way, didn't I? Set that on there right at the edge. Hook the clamp here, bring it up and over. Hook it there. Okay, now we'll put a second one on. There, that one's on. Now we'll take this other one. Smear the glue around on it a little bit. Turn this over. This one on this side. I'm going to just use one clamp, and it'll be one of these wide ones though. On this one. Went too far over with it. Setting it up on edge, make sure it's even on the bottom. Push it around where it needs to go. Sometimes that clamp will grab it uneven, it'll push it around, so make sure you've got it on there. Now we got that glued up, we're going to set it over here and let it let the glue dry. Now, I said I had camera problems the other day. Here's one I made for you the other day. Didn't have a video, but anyway, it hooks on here. You put a smaller piece on here, and then, like I said, I've got some thinner pieces I put on there, and you can plane them. You can put a piece on this way. You can cut them. You need several of these. This one's about 3.5 inches wide. I've got one, my widest one, probably about 10 inches. You can also take them, and this piece here at the top doesn't always have to be that thin. It can be as thick as you want it. In this case, I've got thin pieces to put on it, so I put a thin piece on there so that the plane will ride right over it and won't be running into it. You can take one of these and put a nice thick piece on here, and then at the end, make sure your saw is square to it and cut a slot in it, and you can actually use it kind of like a miter box. So now we've got that made. That's 2. 3. I'm going to show you how to make an awl. Now this little round piece, it rounds flat on one side, and you'll notice it's got a hole in it. You can get those at Hobby Lobby, and you can get them in various sizes. This one is not very big. Let me see, it looks like 1.25 inches. 1.25 inches. Okay. Anyway, you can get them 1.5 inches, 2 inches. You can get them up pretty good size. But notice they've got a hole in them. Now I'm using a 20 penny common nail. You want to use a common nail and not a box in this case, because the difference between the two is the thickness. Common nail is thick. A box nail is thinner. They use it to make boxes, obviously. That's where it's got its name. But it's usually driving into smaller wood and keep from splitting the wood. They make them thinner. But this hole, if a box nail won't go in it. I mean, a box nail won't go in it. I've got a hole here in my bench where I use my hole fast, and I'm going to set that in there. You can put the nail in there. Now, before I go any further, I'll say that hole is in there, and you can feel that nail when it's the bottom of the hole. And so we'll drive it down that far. Now, it's hit the bottom of the hole. Once you've done that, just hit it a couple more times, and don't do any more. If you go much more, it'll come out and break your ball. Now, that's what it looks like. You notice that nail's got a lot of tarnish and rust on it. Well, here's one I made the other day, and I took it over on my grinder, and I ground a point on it. Now that point, that angle comes way back to about here. It's almost 1 inch. except right at the tip, about an 1/8 inch of it, I changed the angle so that thing's sharp on the end. You could drive that through. You could drive it like a nail if you wanted to. What you need to do with this, or what you're going to do with it when you get it made, is you need a straight line across there. You lay your square up here, and it's just that easy. You've got a line. Also, you've seen me on some of my other projects where I'll have a crosshair, you know, where I'm gonna drill a hole in something, and I've used an ice pick for that. This will work just great. Put that right where the line's marked. You need a hole, say 3/4 up from the bottom and 1.25 inches in from the end. You got that drawn in there. You set this puppy up there. You can look at it. In fact, you can hit it just real light. Put a real tiny hole in it. You look at it, make sure that it's the right place. Gives you a hole to start your drill bit in. There's 3 tools real quick for you, and I have another one that I'll be making probably tomorrow, if not tomorrow, Wednesday for sure. This is Tuesday or Monday. I do have something I need to do tomorrow. If I can work the video in, I'll do that. If not, we'll make that thing on Wednesday for sure. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. It's quick, it's easy. You'll be surprised how often you use the bench hook. You'll be surprised how often you use the awl. And you'll be surprised at a lot of things. By the way, when I sharpened that, I have a whisker wheel, or a wire wheel, on the other side, and I brushed it up. It actually looks nice. So there's that. Ouch. Be careful with it. Hope you enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it showing it to you. And I hope your day gets better from here. God bless.